Hey, good evening. Good to see you tonight. Beautiful day, wasn't it? It's absolutely gorgeous, and I think Punxsutawney Phil might have been wrong this time. He said there's going to be 6 more weeks. We haven't had that yet, I don't think. And so, but beautiful day. It's good to see you tonight. We're going to begin with the word of prayer, and then I'm going to turn the entire thing over to Phil and Denise. And one, we want to be in prayer for Carolyn Smith. She is at Cobarker House, and so we want to lift her up in prayer this evening. All righty? So let's pray together and just ask that the Holy Spirit be present among us tonight. Heavenly Father, thank you for today, for your goodness, your grace, your presence in our lives. And we thank you, Lord, that we can serve you and just serve you with a heart of gladness and joy. And Lord, as we gather together this evening, there are many of us that support the ministry in Cactus, Texas. And so we're here to hear about what's going on, what you are doing in the midst of that community, clear out in the western part of the state. We're grateful for Phil and Denise Anderson being with us to be able to share about the ministries, and of course we have a couple there that's just very dear to our hearts because they come from us and went to Cactus. So we ask that your blessing and strength be with Andy and Stephanie. But we look forward to hearing about the total ministries that's happening in Cactus. And Lord, as a body of believers gathered here, we lift up Carolyn Smith to you and just ask that your hand of healing, your hand of grace will be upon her, that you will sustain her, guide her. May your peace be hers as she appears to be winding down her days here on earth. So surround her with courage and with strength and with blessing. So Lord, this service is yours. Encourage us tonight. Be with Phil and Denise. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Come on.
Good evening, everyone. It's good to be here with you. As Pastor said, we're Phil and Denise Anderson, and I'm just going to introduce us a little bit, and then we're going to just talk about some of the, we're going to tell you some stories and talk a little bit about some of the programs that are happening at Cactus Nazarene Ministry Center and the Well Health Center. So Phil and I have been, we've been in a lot of different places. We started life in Pennsylvania. Well, I started life in Pennsylvania. He started in Colorado, but our life together, we started in Pennsylvania. And we were lay leaders in our church when we felt the Lord leading us to serve in as volunteers or Nazarenes in volunteer service, back when it was called that. I was taking a sabbatical from teaching social work at a university there, and we just felt like the Lord was telling us to do that. And so we picked up our 2 kids who were 4 and 7 at the time, and we went to Thailand to serve. We thought we were going there for 1 year and that we were just going to go and have this great time serving the Lord and turn around and come back to our, quote, normal life. That never happened. We did come back because we had to. I had signed my sabbatical that I would return, or we may not have. We loved it so much. And from there, it has just been an amazing journey that the Lord has taken us on. We served as career missionaries in the Dominican Republic and then in South Africa, a total of 13 years in the total countries. When we came back from South Africa, we served there in a number of roles, and we also, the most recent time there, we were pastoring. And when we felt like the Lord was leading us back to the U.S., we didn't know what that looked like. And so we just asked him to lead us clearly, and we ended up at Olivet Nazarene University. Both of us were teaching. I was teaching full-time. And Phil and our son-in-law and daughter planted a church there. And I wouldn't say that it was just this amazing time in our lives. Leaving the mission field was really, really hard for us. We loved it, and we really could have stayed. And so we were struggling and really, again, asking the Lord after we had been there for 3 years, like, is this it? Because this isn't very fun. Don't tell Olivet that. But we just weren't really feeling like we were in the niche where the Lord had us. And we met Larry Dunlap, who is now pastoring in the Mid-Atlantic District. But he was the chair of the board, and he came to a program that I was coordinating at Olivet with his son, who was coming to check Olivet out. Side story, he didn't stay. So, God orchestrates interesting things. His son didn't even stay at Olivet. But he said to me afterwards, I just feel like I was supposed to come and talk to you. I feel like I know you. And that conversation, we didn't know each other. That conversation led to him telling me about Cactus. I told him that I had heard about Cactus because we had students there. And he said, man, you and your husband would be amazing there. You guys have been to all of the countries and the areas where for the people we serve. And I said, well, you need to talk to my husband. And so the next day they had coffee together, and literally that was like one conversation. The next thing we're on the phone with a DS, and the next thing we were packing up our bags and moving down to Cactus. And it really has been, I wouldn't say that it's been golden. There have been a lot of challenges, and the challenges continue. But you know what? When you're in the center of the Lord's will, He sustains you. He has sustained us. And we just wanted to start off by saying, before we go into all of the programs, that part of the reason that we've been sustained are congregations like yours. Because we know that you're praying, and even if you think you're just praying for Andy and Steph Dealman, your prayers are impacting us, and all of your support in things, in finances. Literally, we're out in kind of a dust bowl, panhandle, middle of nowhere, but we really are uplifted and supported by congregations like yours. And so we just want to thank you, even before we start talking, that you just have been such an incredible blessing to us.
So there's a lesson in that. The first one is, don't have coffee with influential pastors because you'll be doing things that you never thought you would do before. I don't know if it's the coffee or the pastor, one or the other. It depends on what it is. And you never know what's going to happen when Ron Lohr pulls in with his trailer. And what's stuffed in there, and when I say stuffed, that is really a true word of how he packs his trailer and pulls into your yard and unloads the trailer. Such a blessing with the furniture ministry that y'all have and have supplied us with different things, and it's been fantastic, and we'll get into some of the specifics of that as we go through. I just wanted to give you a little history of Cactus for those of you who don't know. Some of you probably have heard the history, maybe from Andy and Steph, maybe from being there and talk to other people. But there's a picture of Cactus on the slide. This is actually after the 2009 tornado. Cactus right now doesn't look quite that bad, but as you can see, it was pretty much devastated. It's gone through some really interesting transitions. It was a Army base, or at least Army barracks, and then it was taken over by Phillips Petroleum. When Phillips Petroleum was in the area, which is, if you've been there, which is the field with all the junk in it, they left all their fun stuff behind the center. It was a thriving town that literally had high school and junior high and grade school. They had football teams and baseball teams. They had a bowling alley. It was just, it was small town USA. Really had everything that it needed. Well, the oil ran out, or the contract ran out, or whatever they were doing. Phillips Petroleum pulled out, and the town had a serious transition. A meatpacking plant began to expand and grow, and different people began to move in. And it was people that were working were fine. It was the people that were following the people that were working were the problems. And it ended up kind of being, from what I understand from the Moore County judge, kind of a cartel-run little town. And it went from being Phillips Petroleum, small town USA, to brothels and bars and gangs and violence and disease and sickness of every kind. It was just a really rough place. And that image has stuck with most of the surrounding area of what Cactus used to be. Well, as Swift, the beef packing plant grew and then was bought out by JBS and grew even more, things began to change. They got rid of the criminal aspect of the law enforcement, and new people came in and began to clean up town. But it also meant that the change in who was living there began to happen as JBS grew. And if you don't know, JBS is the world's largest meat packing company. JBS Beef in Cactus is one of the largest, if not the largest, beef packing plants in the country. I don't know about the world, but I know it's very large. They employ 3,500 people, and they butcher 5,200 head of cows a day. So it's just massive. Anyway, that changed the landscape. At the same time, Amarillo became a refugee resettlement city, which meant that not all, but many of those people that were being resettled in Amarillo went where there was work. And they began to come into Cactus and start working in the beef packing plant. The dairies that had moved from California, these massive dairies, are there. The one dairy has 150,000 head of cows that they milk on a daily basis, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Just mind-boggling. And so all these people coming. Then the immigrants followed, and so it changed its face again, and they began to move in, and Cactus grew, and they all stayed there, and there were people from all around the world that were living there. And then in 2009, the tornado hit and devastated the town. Most homes were ripped apart. Today, when you go there, you can still walk around town and see the houses that were marked by the military when they would check for condemning it or finding bodies, if that was the case. And people still live in some of those houses as they were condemned. And so different trailers have been moved in. Some homes have been built. Most of them are rental homes. But it still looks a little different from that, but it's still similar to that too. They did pave the streets, and so most of the streets are paved, and they're sidewalks. So it's, we're up and coming. We're just like, downtown Columbus now. So when this tornado happened, there were a couple pastors who really felt like they wanted to go and just see what was going on and see what they could do. And to make a longer story shorter, they took food and clothes with them, and they handed it out, but they began to talk with people and find out that the needs were greater than just food and clothes. And then Dr. David Downs, who was the district superintendent, just brand new at the time, visited and had this vision from God that says, we got to do more than hand out food and clothes. There needs to be something here that meets the need of these people fully, holistically. And Cactus Nazarene Ministry Center was born. So he began to raise the funds. I don't know, any of you involved in the building of the building? Were you involved at that point? Probably not yet. Were you there in some of that? So the building was being built and funds were raised, and it's the first thing, it was supposed to be a church. They were trying to build a church, and then it kind of got changed around from being a church, and then they thought they wanted to have a compassionate ministry center, and the church would just meet in there, and that's kind of how it ended up being, and all of those kinds of things. And then it has expanded and grown, and then Andy and Steph came down with this vision along with Dr. Downs, who said, you know what we need, because there's nothing in this town? We need medical help. There's no doctors in this town, and the ability for some people to get to a doctor is not possible. And so, talking with them, and they came down and as you know, put their blood, sweat, and tears into building the clinic, and that's what we have today. It's really exciting to see that the growth and the potential. And for those of you who have been there in the mud around the building when it's rained, or the dirt and the dust, it's all gone. The Lord has blessed us with a grant, and we've paved all the parking area, and we have handicap access, and the whole works into the building. So God has been really good in that regard with the growth of it. And I just wanted to say that even the face of Cactus Nazarene Ministry Center and the Well Health Center have changed. Other than Andy and Steph, they are the only original people that are left. So It just, sometimes that happens with the church, doesn't it? Sometimes when growth happens, people change, things move. And it's really, truly, I think my heart says, it's God. And the people that are there right now are the hardest working, just pouring out their heart and soul for the people of Cactus. So as we move from the history of it, and then we got there, and I don't know, maybe it's going backwards again. We'll have to see how things go. I wanted to talk to you about Blast. And if you've been there for any length of time, you may have been involved in Blast. We hired Raquel and Todd Forrest. And Raquel Forrest is our children and family coordinator. She took over for Kaylin, who is now full-time over at the elementary school. Rocky is a Puerto Rican woman who is a little short, absolute ball of fire, and what she wants to get done, she gets done. And Blast has taken on a whole new persona in everything it does. These kids are curriculumized. The whole program is curriculumized. But it's been a staple of ministry for Cactus Nazarene Ministry Center since the beginning, to work directly in the elementary school with these kids. And the first time that I went over there with Larry, when I visited before we were hired on, I went over to Blast, and we went to the morning assembly, and I'm standing in the gym, and I'm looking out at this group of kids, about 300 strong, and there was not one blonde-haired, blue-eyed kid in the entire place. And I'm seeing Hispanic, and I'm seeing African, and I'm seeing Burmese kids, and I'm seeing all these different nationalities of little kids just sitting together in their classrooms, and they're doing university cheers, right? And so they're doing the Texas Tech cheers, and then they're doing the Aggies, and they're doing all the different places of the teachers where they had gone to school, and unified and in harmony with one another. And Larry says to me, he says, this school is not the same picture of the community. But the reason that we have Blast and are working with this elementary school, and the principal who sits on our board, TJ Funderburg, and the wonderful teachers of that elementary school, is because the dream and the vision of the school and of CNMC is that the community one day looks like that unified group of kids, that the cultural lines get crossed. And so it's the place to start. And as we educate them, as we help them to see that life is good and that they can do anything they want, we don't want them to leave Cactus necessarily. We want them to grow and get educations and come back and be the leaders of Cactus and change the whole face of how Cactus operates as a town. Because right now it is very culturally diverse and very culturally segregated. And it's partially because people don't know one another in different cultures, and mainly because they don't speak the same language. So if English is not your language, then you don't speak Dinka to someone who speaks Spanish, who speaks Burmese. It doesn't work. And so the segregation is really strong. So starting with the children in Blast and helping them with their English as a second language, helping them with their literacy, showing them new ways of doing things. The fire department comes, the police come, they talk with them, they show them what they can be. Most of our police department grew up in Cactus, which is really awesome, and have come back to be servants there, civil servants in that town. So it's really a lot of fun. And so Blast has now just taken on this idea that they're going to be educated along with the stories of Jesus. The school allows us to proselytize and evangelize these kids and pray with them and play games with them. And we just have a lot of fun, but also with a purpose in mind for their future and the future of the town that they grow up in.
So about 1 year ago, probably now, Sandra and Willie Ramirez came into the center, and they were asking for someone who had volunteered there in the past. They were in need of immigration help. And I started asking them questions and found out that they had worked with someone who is called a notario. It's someone who is pretending to be someone who can help with immigration, but is not really legally prepared or able to do that. And so they came with receipts of about $6,000 that they had spent and got nothing out of it. And so we started to just hear a little bit more about Sandra and Willie and their situation, and Sandra's son, Gael. And the situation was very, very complicated because of her status right now. I mean, she had entered the country legally, but her everything that she had come in on, the visa had expired. And we weren't accredited and we weren't prepared to work with anyone in immigration, but we reached out to Arleta Harris, who is an accredited representative with the Department of Justice, and she is the executive director of Western Oaks. It's a Nazarene program in Oklahoma City. And so I just said, what do we do? How can we help? And she said, I can help you. If you guys will study and get yourselves working in that direction, I can help take care of it. So Arleta was thinking this was going to take about 3 months, and then COVID hit, and we're still in the same situation that we're in, waiting for accreditation from the Department of Justice. But Arleta continues, at 75 years old, Arleta continues to serve our community as an accredited representative. And story after person after person came in with the same sad situation, but many of them are going through the citizenship process right now. I'll tell you more about one of them later. But Sandra and Gael were supposed to have their appointment, and then there was a snowstorm in Oklahoma City, but they're going to be going in for their appointments to get their green cards in April. And so it's just such an amazing way that we love to collaborate with others, and we are completely blessed, but such an amazing way that Arleta has been ministering to the community.
Got to remember what story I'm telling next.
I have it on our phone so we can see what's next.
And what is it?
ESL.
Oh, thank you. It's also this big. So English as a second language, as I said with BLAST, this is paramount for the development of our community. When a person comes from another country, as a refugee even, they're placed in a resettlement city. They're given about a month of assimilation. This is what you do, this is how you do it, and go get a job. And then they're on their own. They have to take care of their own paperwork. They're not handheld in any way, but they're also not given really much of a chance to do it well and to do it right. And so many of them don't speak any English or very, very little. If you don't speak English, it's pretty hard to get a job in the United States, right? It is kind of our major language. So ESL is paramount to help our community to develop into a place where they can do better for themselves, to get better jobs. JBS pays a lot of money if you want to do it. It's hot and stinky and hard work, and most people don't last very long physically. It will break you down. And so we want them to be able to do what they can. There's a lot of agricultural jobs around us, and some of them do require degrees. Some of them, it would be helpful if they spoke better English. They could get the better job, not just scooping cow manure somewhere, but doing the things that they desire to do, that they have the skill to do, and, but they have the language to do it. So the person in the picture there, the blonde, she is an American, North American. Her name is Sarah Alvord, and she's got a couple of roles in Cactus right now, but her main role with the Nazarene ministry side of things is ESL coordinator. And she's pictured there with Patricia. Patricia comes from Cameroon, and Patricia speaks French and a tribal dialect. So she's been coming to ESL. And Sarah has just made such good friends with Patricia, which we've realized that ESL isn't just about the development of a person to better themselves, but it's also about the development of relationships that allow us opportunity to speak into their lives about more than one thing. So Sarah's had opportunity to talk to Patricia about the Lord. And Patricia's very open to listen to it because we think she might be Baha'i. And so Baha'i is very open to whatever religion. They'll just add it to their own kind of thing. But that's, of course, not where we want to go. And so building relationship is so important. The picture on the left is of food. One day, Patricia's lesson was to go home and read this recipe in English and make the recipe. So she went home and she made the recipe, and the next day for her class, she brought the recipe in to Sarah. It was crepes. And she said, not only did I read the recipe, I've made it and I've brought these crepes for you because I want to share them with you. And as the lesson went on, Sarah said, I would love to know how to make crepes. So Patricia invited her to her home to make crepes. But when she got there, I think she took our 2 interns with her. When she got there, it wasn't just crepes, but there was blackened, fried tilapia and chicken and all kinds of other foods and all these things that Patricia had made because she wanted to bless Sarah and the other girls. The interesting thing is Patricia is a vegetarian. She doesn't eat meat. But she knew that Sarah was. And so she is spending so much time. And we're finding that there are so many other folks that are coming in for ESL, that ESL isn't just about the language. It's about relationship. It's about the idea that we can build trust as they get to know us and we get to know them. And the more they hear what we're speaking and start understanding it, that the trust is built even more. And it's on this foundation of trust that we hope so much to be able to then pour into their lives the foundation of Jesus Christ, right? Because so many don't know him. Some of them come from countries where Jesus probably has never been spoken, at least not to them. Some of them are, come from Muslim countries. And so it's so imperative that happens. And we're just finding that these things, this innocuous thing that's so good for a person in development, can become this wonderful tool to present the gospel to our friends in Cactus.
So Manuel and Luz Trejo, they came to us last year as well. Manuel and Luz both work at JBS. And for the past year, JBS has been offering to pay for any of their employees who have a good record of employment. They have a point system, so they have to have fewer than 3 points and have been there for at least 1 year. They will pay the $725 fee for them to become U.S. citizens, to apply for citizenship, the application fee. And so they had paid for both Manuel and Luz, and but they had also been got into the situation with a notario. And Arlita helped them, applied for them. Just 2 weeks ago, they went to take their test, and they passed with flying colors. So Arlita had said to myself and the others who volunteer in the immigration office, she said, now I need you to start preparing these folks, because it's been a year now, so they're all coming up, their interviews are coming up. She said, I need you to prepare them for the interview. And we said, well, we've not been to an interview. We don't know how to do that. So she gave us the list. This is what you need to make sure you do. And one of the things is they have to know exactly what they have answered on their original application. If they don't know what they said, then they will consider them having lied to a U.S. official, and that's a reason to just end the interview and tell them that they've failed. So I don't know if you're like me, but I could forget some of those questions. It's 20 pages long. So we have been working with people when it's about a month before their interview. They come in, and we have some social work interns from Olivet with us this semester, and they sit and they go through their entire application, make sure they remember everything that they've answered, and then there are 100 questions that they have to know, because they have to be able to get a percentage of them correct, but they don't know which 100 they'll be asked. So they have to know all of them. So our students have been working and going through, it's a very, very long process. For some, it's even longer because they haven't started studying at home. When they apply, we send a book with them and say, start studying now. Some don't always do that. But anyway, Manuel and Luz, they passed with flying colors, and actually last week while we were gone, they went to become sworn in as U.S. citizens. And so we're just so excited for that opportunity, and the people are so thrilled just to have this new and exciting life.
One brand new program that I'm very excited about, and it's kind of my brainchild, so I'm just going to give myself a little pat on the back. I've been thinking about it since the moment we started there, July of 2019, of how this could happen. And that's a GED program, or high school equivalency. So one of the things that we learned about our community is that many of the folks there do have high school diplomas, but they have a diploma from their country that won't translate to the United States. But there are many of them who have quit school at young ages because they've had to work, either in their home country or even here in the U.S. in Cactus. So we really just started talking and thinking about this, and what can we do? How can we get this going? What's going on in the area? Well, Amarillo College in Dumas, which is about 15 miles from us, does have a GED program. But it's rigid in its time frames, and all of our people work shift work. And so many of them can't do it. And if they change it and they change their shift and Amarillo changes it, then they lose out. If they miss one class, they're out of the program. So they're just very, very rigid in how they're working things. There's another one in Dalhart through Frank Phillips College, these little community colleges. And they also have a GED program, but that's 50 miles away. And so we went to them and decided, I wanted to talk to them and just see, how do you do this? What do you do? Where do you start? How does this work? And we sat down with Eileen and Mary up at the Frank Phillips College and learned that they were both devout, Jesus-following, God-loving Christians, and said, here's what we do. And they said, we'll do anything to help you get that thing started. Absolutely. So we have started this GED program in conjunction with Frank Phillips College. The MOU is this, the Memorandum of Understanding. They're doing nothing except that when our people are ready to take the exams, which are all online, we can take them up to Dalhart. They will let us into the college, and they can take their exams on all their computer systems and do everything that they need to do up there because they're the testing site. And for any one of our students that finish and graduate, we can join their students for the big graduation that they throw. And so we're so excited to be able to take our students and really celebrate what happens. Their first class starts the 23rd of March. They're going into spring break. My teachers are all from the elementary school, all the teachers at the elementary school. And one of the greatest stories about the GED is one of those teachers got her GED in a program just like this at the age of, I think she said she was 48 or 50. Went on to get her teaching degree, is now teaching in Cactus, and so excited to be able to share that with other people. So she's just taken the reins on the teaching. And Lily Sykes, who sits on our board, is the coordinator of this whole program. And I'm telling you, they are spending my money, and they are moving this program. I am excited about that. And we had 15 students sign up and start classes for the GED. They bought a book. They all had bug eyes when they saw how thick it was, because it's about that thick, but it covers all 4 courses: math, social studies, reading and writing, and science. And so it's really pretty cool because I have one of the teachers is the math teacher, one of the teachers is a science teacher, one of the teachers is social studies and history teacher, and the other one is did I say science? The other class. I don't know if they did that on purpose or if it just happened that way, but it's really good. You can't really tell from the picture, but again, the cultural diversity is fantastic. We had a gentleman from Somalia. We had a gentleman from the Sudan. We have somebody from the Dominican Republic. We have a couple from Mexico. We have somebody from the Congo. I mean, that's an awesome class. That's the kind of church you want, right? So, hey, who knows? Maybe that's exactly what will happen as we're able to build relationships again through this program and speak into their lives educationally and otherwise as things go. And so this is huge. This is another one of those things, to develop a community into a place where they better themselves, where they can do, where they begin to bridge those cultural divides and advocate for their community as a community, as a group, just to really pull themselves together and say, here's what we need. Here's what needs done. Here's how life should be. And go to the city council, go to the city manager, go to other people and say, you got to work with us here, because now we know, now we understand. This is not how things should be, right? And so we're so excited for them to develop through these educational courses and programs. And just, man, the future looks bright for so many.
So there are other programs that we are doing at CNMC, but we wanted to also talk with you about the Well Health Center, which many of you know even more about. This is the program that Dr. Steph Dielman is the medical director. When we came, it was just Steph and a receptionist, and that was it. And it was tough, but now we have been able to write several grants, and Phil has been furiously raising money, and it is Dr. Steph. We have a social worker who works with them and does psychosocial assessments on every single person who comes in. We also have a full-time nurse who works with the prenatal and immunization clinic. We have a medical assistant / phlebotomist. And we have a receptionist. So the staff has more than tripled, I think, if I counted right, as well as a bookkeeper. But it's just been such an amazing journey, even just in the short time that we've been there, to see how the Lord is growing and using just that space and the resources that He's given us.
Yeah. Another person on the staff who is very part-time comes in when Dr. Steph needs a break. We located a young lady from Oklahoma City who is a nurse practitioner who was willing to do everything that it took to get her Texas license. And in fact, I think it's this week, she's coming in. Dr. Steph will be home with her mom for a little bit, and she's coming in to take over for her. So we've been praying that we can get a way for Steph to take a break, to step back. She and Andy can take vacation, and she doesn't have to worry about her clinic. It still rolls, and people are there. And so we're so excited to have Aubrey come in from Oklahoma City voluntarily, all voluntarily, and take over for Steph on occasion to be able to give her a break. And so, man, if you've been praying for that, for Dr. Steph, then you know now that the Lord has answered those prayers, and that's huge. That is really huge. So it's really exciting. So Denise mentioned the immunization. Oh, the prenatal first. Got to go with the thing here, right? This is a new program with the clinic. So the clinic's whole premise has been to offer a holistic medical services, right? And holistic really means just that: mind, body, and soul. And so if you don't know, we offer prayer with every patient that comes in. And some say, oh, please. And some say, no, I'm okay. And that's okay. That's their prerogative. And that's the soul. But also, as these developing relationships are happening, we're able to speak more into their lives in that. So when we hired Carol Navarez as our RN, we had this plan that we needed to do immunization in prenatal. We just started the prenatal clinic, and these are all different things that you have to, go to the Texas Board of Medicine and make sure it's all approved. And Carol has worked tirelessly to make sure that the prenatal clinic is up and running and doing everything that it needs to do. And it is just none too soon. as we had a wave of new Guatemalan immigrants come through, many of them undocumented, so many of them are young, 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, married, and pregnant. And they come not having ever seen a doctor. They don't speak Spanish. They don't read or write in however many languages. They speak Quiche or another tribal language. But they are now hearing from others in Cactus about the clinic and that they need to go, and they're coming in, and Dr. Steph is sitting with these girls and checking them and getting them prenatal vitamins. But some of them are coming in never having seen a doctor, and they're 9 months pregnant. And so there are always complications, not always, but many times complications and issues because of no proper nutrition, terrible stress. They walk from Guatemala, right? And so all of these things that are happening, some of these may be rape babies. There's just so much that's going on in these young ladies' lives. And so we have this clinic going on, and Dr. Steph had the privilege of delivering the first Cactus prenatal clinic baby here just a few weeks ago at the hospital. And so now we're seeing the fruition of all of these pregnancies and the things coming to a head. And it's so exciting because if you know Dr. Steph, that's her dream is OB. And so she's doing that at the hospital, and now she's doing that through the clinic. And it's just so incredible. But it's a serious issue. So right now, what we're doing is that we are raising funds and awareness, the need for a, I knew I was going to forget, ultrasound, so that she can do the things that she needs to do more. And I think we're almost there. And we're so excited about having that ultrasound because it's not just for the OB, but for so many other critical issues that are coming through. But prenatal has just been so huge. So here we are again in Ohio. Right, we're almost as far away from Texas as you can get in the United States. This is just a long way away. And here's how much we love our Ohio churches. Somebody in Canton just called us and said, we were supposed to go to Romania. We can't go to Romania. We've got boxes and boxes and pounds of handmade diaper bags, receiving blankets, medicines, and all kinds of stuff. And we heard about the prenatal clinic from Dr. Downs, and we were wondering if you could take it all back. So now I have a carload of all this stuff going to the well. Ohio rocks, man. You guys, I'm telling you, I love coming to Ohio. One, I got really good friends here. Some of them are sitting in here. And two, you just keep giving. And that just, it's amazing to us. It just blows our mind that you hear the voice of God in that, and that you continue to be faithful to that. You guys, other churches, so wonderful. I've been here pounding the pavement with Pastor Joe up at MVNU at Mount Vernon First, and we're working on partnerships with them as well. And so exciting to see our churches stepping in and doing what you're doing. It's such a great thing. And this prenatal is just one of those things that is because of you. It really, really is. And so thank you.
And at the same time that we had written a grant for prenatal, we had also written a grant for an immunization clinic, which was also something that Doc Steph had been wanting to do. And so the same people who we hired, we kind of double dipped. And the nurse who was hired for prenatal is also the one who set up everything for the immunization clinic. They started out, one of the things that we had heard from the elementary school is that a very significant portion, like maybe 80 kids out of the 350 kids, were every year not able to start school because they didn't have their vaccines. And so kind of in collaboration with the Cactus Elementary School, but also then other people started hearing about it. They went into vaccine clinics in a couple of other locations as well. So this past August, they were able to start the vaccine clinic that culminated in the couple of days before we left. They had a COVID vaccine clinic, and we gave out 80 vaccines in Cactus to the community. And with that, Dr. Steph even went to a couple of folks' homes, some of our patients who were not able to come in. She went to their homes to give them the vaccine. And just so excited for this opportunity to, again, just to serve where there's a need. We don't want to make up things. We don't want to think, wow, this would be really cool. I would love to do this. But we really have wanted to look at where is the need and what are people saying would be beneficial, and that's what we've wanted to do.
That's okay. And finally, I think with the well, one of the other new things that has happened there is that Dr. Steph had applied to be a civil surgeon, which would allow her to do immigration physicals. And for whatever reason, the first time through, it was denied, and so we had to reapply. And I am happy to say that Dr. Steph is now a civil surgeon, and she does immigration physicals, which is really cool because they walk in the CNMC door, do everything they need to do for immigration, get everything done, and a few weeks later they walk in the well door and they get their physicals all in the same place. And there's no other place close by. The closest place that they can do this is Amarillo, and it's just very difficult for folks to drive an hour if they have a car or the ability to get there. The money is more, and so, through donations and wonderful giving, we're able to keep our costs down for people, which is the whole purpose of a charitable clinic. And so you can go and get your immigration physicals and all the shots that may be required if you haven't been up to date on your immunizations for a fraction of the cost that it would be somewhere else. And so we're so excited to be able to offer that. Even before Dr. Steph knew she had become a civil surgeon, someone was calling to say, can I get my physical? Because it was put on the internet before she got the letter saying, congratulations. So that's how God works sometimes, just, mysteriously through the internet. And so it was very, very exciting. So one of the things we wanted to leave you with is a little bit of vision casting and then some partnership opportunities. You've been hearing me talk about development. One of the things that we're trying very, very hard to do at CNMC and through the well doesn't have a problem doing this, it's a little different, but is to develop the community, to develop the people rather than to just give to the people and put a Band-Aid over the need that they might have today, but to walk alongside the community in a deeper and a greater way, to develop the ability on their own to figure out the way out of whatever situation it might be, to see why that need has arisen or whatever it is, and to work towards getting that fixed to themselves, to add to them feeling like they are part of who we are here in this country, this new country for them, this place that's so foreign to what they have known forever, is dignity and self-worth. That when we hand out too much, just takes that right away from them. Oh, you poor soul, you can't do anything on your own. Let me give you whatever you need and just keep giving. That has to happen sometimes, because sometimes that's the immediate need. If you're hungry, we're going to give you food. If you're cold, we're going to give you a coat. We still do the coat drive. We still have a food pantry for emergencies and things like that. But it's the vision that we have is to develop people, to develop them in all the ways that helps them to help themselves, to move into this life and be confident in who they are and confident in the place that they live and confident in their abilities. And when you're confident about who you are and your abilities and those things, you'll listen to the story of Jesus a lot easier than if you're hungry, if you're hopeless, if you're just wanting out. And so we're just really aiming toward that thing. So with that in mind, for development, it takes more resources. It takes prayer. It takes a lot of prayer for us to do it well, to do it right, to do it in the way that's needed, not in the way we think we want to do that. But it has to be done in God's timing and in God's way. And so praying for us to have that vision and to strategize it properly is paramount for us. It's the first and foremost thing that we would ask of anybody as far as partnership with us, is to pray for us and with us. We always need finances. We are a compassionate ministry. We don't sell too many things except for the T-shirts and the mugs that are on the back table, and you can buy one, or it's true, but we won't go there. But monthly donations are our backbone. That's the foundation in which we can set up a budget and know what we're going to do from year to year. And so one of the ways to partner is to say, you know what, God, how can I commit? How can I look at Cactus and say, you know, what do I have extra? What's good? Can I do it a year? Can I do it 2 years? Can I commit to 3 years, 5 years, 100 years, whatever it might be? How can I help them in that? And so it's one of the ways we're really looking to say, you know what, the one-time donation, wonderful. We love it. Thank the Lord for every penny that comes. That monthly donation with a commitment for a year or two helps us to be able to move forward and forge ahead and do what needs to be done. We always need short and long-term volunteers. Long-term are the best. As we develop, we build relationships, and relationships are how you develop. And so, but we'll take anybody who's willing to come, who has a skill to share something that can be used, a second language. If you speak Dinka or Arabic or Burmese, please come. We need you. Work and witness ministry teams. Work and witness looks a little different like now. Projects, but a lot of ministry can still happen with smaller teams, and we're working on that and seeing how that's going to fit the future and what's going on. We may be we're thinking and planning right now the possibility of trying to buy land and build a new building because the well is expanding and we can't do as much together, because if the well's open we can't teach ESL in the same room and things like that. So we're looking at maybe building a new building next door and moving the well into a new clinic and changing things up. And if that happens, then of course lots of work and witness is going to happen again. But it's always a possibility. And we actually have a couple job openings. We're in desperate need of someone who can do reception work, but administrative work as well, who would be able to do QuickBooks and some finances and just files things better than I do, which is usually just a pile on my desk. It gets lost all the time, and when people say, do you remember that? I say, no. And we need somebody who can help me administratively in the office, but who can speak Spanish and speak on the phone. And that's a paid opportunity that we're looking for, both in the well and at CNMC. And so it could be a person who could do both if they're really good, or it could be 2 people. So there's some opportunities in that regard that we're looking for at CNMC out there in Cactus, Texas. It's a lovely place to live. It really is. It has its own charms on occasion. So, but the people are fantastic, and the ministry opportunities are out of this world. We haven't begun to scratch the surface of the needs and the opportunity and the potential to raise up an army for Christ in that city, to really reach out and bring lives to the Lord and have Him save them. And that's our ultimate goal in reality. So that's where we are. I don't know what time it is, so I think if you've got questions, you're good? We're good? Is there any questions, any thoughts, anything you would like to share? If you've been there, any stories that you haven't told anybody? Did we shake the tree a little bit and you remember? Or? Yeah. What is the well? That's the health clinic. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. No, that's all right. Yeah, so that's what they called it. It originated as Cactus Nazarene Health Center. And we decided that was just way too long. And so I think Steph and Andy prayed about that, and they came up with the name The Well. And the reason is because, the overflowing goodness of the well throughout the scriptures talks about how it's life-giving and wholesome and good. And that's the whole potential of the clinic and the reason for the medical clinic there. It's the only one in the area. You can go to Dumas and go to the doctor's office, but so many people just can't get there or won't get there because it's just so foreign. This has become a place where they feel a little more comfortable and can trust it, and they can walk if they need to. So, yeah, it's the medical clinic. That's a good question. We just talk about it as though everybody knows, don't we? Anything else? Pastor, thank you so much for letting us rattle on tonight.
Thank you, Pastor Phil. and Denise. Oh, what a great presentation. Thank you for sharing all that's happening in Cactus. And you know that the Dealmans are great friends of ours. But now we have another set of great friends in Cactus. And so it's good to eat with you this evening and break bread together and to hear all the good things that God is doing through you and through those who are serving right along with you. And so, as Phil said, or Denise, one or the other said, they do have T-shirts out here and some of the mugs. And how much are they? Maybe you can help us with that.
You know what? If you've been to Cactus or you've given to Cactus and you see a T-shirt you like, just take one. You deserve it. The mugs, they're at $2,000. Simple. Actually, if you give $2,000, they're free, or they're $25 if you want a mug. The T-shirts are $10, otherwise if you don't take a free one. So be honest.
There you go. Well, again, thank you very much for being with us tonight. The Lord bless you. And I think you're going to be out there around they'll be out around the T-shirts. You know, just keeping an eye on them $2,000 cups out there, you know. So, hey, God bless you. Looking forward to worshiping with you on Sunday.